I have a really cool challenge here just to talk about Desert Bus's current and past, specifically about the venues that Desert Bus is taking place in. Which is your favorite? Which is your least favorite, and why?
All right.
There are pros to being from home, in that, I get to sleep in a little bit more, and there are cons to being at home in that I don't have all the lights and cameras that broadcast gets to do. So I'll give this current venue a pass, but I think it could be better.
All right. So we started at Bill, Morgan, and Graham's house in the living room. Probably like a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I would call that low tier.
Yeah,
How did it get 2 points? I'm really curious.
I mean, because it existed, and I don't like giving things one. All right.
It had a roof. That's 1 point.
Yeah. Well, it had a roof, I guess.
I mean, it was
okay.
Pretty much. It was probably like big enough in terms of like space. It just wasn't well oriented. Yeah.
All right. 2 was at the very first proper moon base, which was probably about the size, maybe a teeny bit bigger than the office that I am currently occupying.
It's 200 square feet.
So imagine the entirety of Desert Bus taking place in the room that I am in. 3 out of 10.
Also, no insulation. And the window didn't close that well, so snow literally blew in the window.
Right. 2.5 out of 10.
It was, except when there's
so many people in that room.
When there's like 10 people in the room, it was just the body heat kind of kept it going.
And there was that one really cold bathroom.
Yeah.
Yep.
So was down the hall.
Number 3, that was directly across the hall. We moved into a space about 3 times larger. Hands down, it was the best space that we had been in yet. But when compared to everything else that came after it, probably a 4.5 out of 10. It did have a giant door that could slide open and drop us out 1 story up, which was kind of neat. But other than that,
no guardrail or anything.
It wasn't great.
It also had that area that you used for Telly using for prizes, right? Like it had it had a separate space for prizes, which is basically the first year that we went full hog on prizes, right?
Yeah, it was the first year where we actually had 2 separate spaces to be able to operate.
It was like 2 months of working hard on shipping prizes after Desert Bus before we actually put them all out. That was when we were like, okay, we need actually like a prize system.
Yeah. Desert Bus 4, 5, 6, 7 all took place in the 3rd moon base Mark III, for which I actually drove by the other day, and it looks like that area is for rent again. Which I think is kind of funny.
I had coffee with Smokey the other day too, your old landlord.
We went there for 4 years. It was fantastic. It was 2 floors. We had lots of space. I think it worked. Those were the years where things really sort of like 4, 5, 6, 7 are like sort of, I think, like really formative years for how Desert Bus exists today, and that space dictated a lot of that.
Yeah, the toilet pipe right beside the broadcast area was maybe not the best.
Yeah.
I was going to say, loses points for the pole and the toilet flush noises, gets points for being 2 levels.
Yeah.
And having all the props right there. I think that's hard to beat.
Also, it had enough space on the main floor so we actually could have a real broadcast area that wasn't actually on the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, the configuration of the space was kind of weird, but we could have a broadcast area, yeah.
I did like the row of couches. We have had discussions at future Desert Buses to see if we could just align the couches like that again, but broadcasters has been like, why wouldn't we just make a stage?
As Bill's mom points out, yes, those stairs definitely, I mean, I wouldn't say almost, I would say they quite often did take out Bill.
The other thing that was nice about that is the doors behind the stage there. We could open that to bring gear in there.
Yeah.
But strangely, the first year, even though we had the space for it, the first year that we were in there, we decided to still put the broadcast area in a pit that was on the other side of the camera. So you had to like crawl around to not be on camera to get back there. And then we were like, hey, there's that space all over by the corner there. Why don't we just put broadcast over there the next year?
Yeah. So I would say like 5.5 out of 10. All right, moving on. Desert Bus 8. We were at Tectoria. This was the first time where we actually realized we needed more space than we had access to.
It was possibly our biggest location, yeah?
Yeah, certainly stage-wise. If you go back and look at Desert Bus 8, we had a lot of width. Too much, in fact, actually. And that was a great location. It had a murder hallway. It had, again, just
that was the next year. The hallway.
Didn't they both have murder hallways?
They both did, yes.
Yeah. But solid year, great location. We'll say 7 out of 10.
So lost points specifically because we didn't have a space for prizes. We had this huge basement area downstairs, which was really cool for the after party, and the prize room just had some curtains.
That's 9. You're thinking that was Desert Bus 9.
But
they had the upstairs private office. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, we should be giving that more points.
And then eventually get to a prize floor.
We should be giving that way more points then.
8 also lost points though because there was just like a party there unrelated to us halfway through, which is where the houseboat thing comes from.
Yep. All right. 9 was the Alacrity Foundation. It had a helicopter, which was dope. The space stage or the stage for the space for the stage was not ideal. We were all crammed in a pretty small room. As Serge mentioned, prizes was basically just a curtained off area downstairs. Overall, 9 was probably a 5.5, 6 out of 10. Worse than 8, but still better than anything in
4 through 7.
In the 1 through 7 years.
I'd agree with that.
9 also, the other problem with 9 was that it was actually like an active building. So there was people just like doing their regular office work. And are like, who are you people?
9 had a lot of private bathrooms. I liked 9. I mean, Jordan's in chat saying 9 sucked. I disagree with that. I thought 9 was still really good.
Of modern day Desert Bus, which is 8 through now, 9 was the worst.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fair. But like still such a huge improvement over previous ones.
Yeah. All right. 10. 10 was the first year where I actually went out and more or less rented a space. We rented a office space just on sort of the outskirts of downtown proper Victoria. It is obviously 10 was a big year. It was heavily featured in the documentary that you can now go watch over on the Child's Play YouTube channel.
Documentary.desertbus.org.
It was stage wise, it was great. It was a great stage. The big brick wall,
best stage. Yeah.
I mean, it's
the shift banners, the big logo. I think we
basically have emulated that stage ever since.
Yeah. The broadcast area, basically everywhere else wasn't ideal. It was all very connected together, big open space.
It was all one giant room. Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't lend itself super well to a bunch of other stuff going on in the office. But it did work. And I would say like 7 out of 10. For sure. Maybe
biggest
even
issue with 10 is that is the sickest we have ever been after a Desert Bus.
Yes.
Well, and the idea of the broadcast was really great. Can you hear me? No.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The idea of the broadcast was really great to kind of remove it from the stage to give the stage more room because we had that weird stage right by the door.
Yeah.
But it was disconnected enough so that you couldn't really have really good communication between the stage and the broadcast area. But connected enough that we tried.
Yeah, we'd like shout things at people who couldn't quite hear it. I did like that little,
which is just like a little bit of a spoiler for what we did in 11, right? Because we decided to completely change that to kind of go all the way.
Yeah. So 11.
Well, hold on. A couple more things about 10.
Sure.
I really liked the actual little corner we had for the bone zone because it felt like you were going on a little journey to go over to where the camera was. I thought that was really neat. But it's like it's hard to stress just how frustrating that venue was for everything that wasn't the stage. So it had like the best possible stage and everything else. You had no privacy. You couldn't really talk. You always had to whisper because all the extra noise would just always funnel into that. So like it was tough to have two extremes of goodness and badness in one spot.
It was also right on the street. Like it opened right onto the street, which was kind of fun for like the thing with the crane that Graham did. Scissor lift that Graham did and stuff. But also there was like construction going on and stuff.
Ashley points out that at 10, we also broke the building's HVAC system, which is a big reason why we got a lot of people got very sick that year.
I did not know that, actually.
I know that people like to throw around the lickability scale as the reason we all got sick. I didn't get sick, so I don't think it was actually that. I think it was probably the broken HVAC system that didn't
we were
quite
in a very
recycle the air.
warm room that
Yeah.
didn't have recycled air.
Asymptomatic carrier, James.
All right, so got to go because Serge and I need to get going very quickly here. All right, and we have a concert to get to. All right, 11. We came back to the moon base for the first time since Desert Bus 7. We had very recently moved into this space. There was a little bit of extra space next door, which is now has been rented, which means we couldn't do it again from here. But I would say that doing it here was a lot of fun. It kind of felt like bringing Desert Bus back home. The room that I am currently in looks a little bit different now than it did a few years ago, but this was actually engineering with Studio C, which is just behind the wall here, as the main stage. And we had prizes and shipping all the way down in that extra space, along with where we actually like hung out and ate and stuff. Overall, Desert Bus 11 was actually really good in this space. And I didn't have any big issues with it. And I think if we could have continued to use the space next door, there's a chance we might have just kept doing it here. But because we lost it, there was just no way.
It was dependent on the space next door not being rented, which it was.
Desert Bus 12, back to how I did it at Desert Bus 10, which is we went out and we actually looked at property. Andrew actually ended up hooking me up with a friend of his, and he was able to set us up with the space for both 12 and 13. It wasn't exactly the same both years, and to be fair, 12 was hands down the best year and best space Desert Bus has ever had. We had so much space, like thousands of square feet of space. So much space that we didn't even use it all because there was just not a need for so much space. But that allowed us to do a lot of stuff that we couldn't do otherwise. And I think it allowed everybody to be a little bit more relaxed because it was so easy to get away from the show without actually leaving the show. That got a little worse the next year because we lost the area where the stage was. But I still think last year was pretty good overall. And I think it's actually still empty. And I believe that had we been able to do Desert Bus as normal this year, I don't want to say it was 100% sure, but it probably would have been us back in that same spot again. Everybody enjoyed those. You agree with that one?
Yeah.
I personally liked 8 more as my favorite venue. My biggest complaint with the new place is the ceiling is too low. And it just doesn't feel, it doesn't have the right feeling. I need more ceiling space. That's all.
Okay.
Everyone has a lot of
disagrees.
ceiling space.
Johnny, you're muted.
Because
I have been
But yes, for the prize
outvoted
team-
here. Apparently best.
For the prize team having the prizes on a completely separate area on a second floor that they had to run
That
up to.
sucked. Yeah.
That sucked a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
DB13 was the biggest problem with DB13 was that there was very little off-camera space. It was loud. Like people who were not on camera had to basically not talk at all, which wasn't very fun.
Yeah, I think that's why I liked 8 so much is we had a great stage, but the offstage area was so far removed you could actually just relax. I feel.
But that's what we had at 12, right?
Yeah,
It
but
was
the stage
so
wasn't as good.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, the stage at 8 with the space of 12 would have been mucho besto.
Yeah,
the dream.
And then this is lame because I actually have to leave my house every day, which sucks.
Speaking of which,
Yeah, we should go.